Hey guys, it's Alexis, Sophia Leather. All right, in this video, real quick, I'm gonna show you how to get edges like this. And this is how I do it, all right? I know there's a million different ways to skin a cat. In fact, let me know in the comments below how you do it. And yeah, that's all I got for you. So let's get started with the video. All right, so before you do anything, you have to avoid your edges touching, or you have to avoid certain products touching your edges. And primarily anything that's waxy and that's basically like an acrylic finish or any kind of finish, anything that prevents any kind of penetration. That being tan coat is one of them. You don't want to put this on the edge before you do anything. You don't want to put acrylic Resolene on anything on the edges before. And you definitely don't want to put gum track. I never use this. This is the same bottle I had for like 7 years. I don't use this. And you don't want to put any beeswax on there before you dye. So the other tools you'll need is a way to apply it. A lot of guys use the wool dauber, right? I'm not a big fan. If you are going to use a wool dauber, this is a Don Gonzalez special. If you're going to use a wool dauber, a lot of this little hair, these little hairs there, they will cause issues. So you just do a quick singe like that on the wool dauber, and I'll get rid of all those that little lint and everything. So if you're going to use a dauber, do that. Okay, just burn it off a little bit. But what I like to use is this applicator. Okay, so this applicator right here is amazing. Okay, and this one is called that. I'll put a link in the description where you can find it. I forgot where I found it. But this applicator is amazing. So a couple things about this applicator is, and I learned this the hard way, and let me put this away and then I'll explain. So before you do anything, do not put any of that stuff on there, just so you know, okay? This applicator, to get your dye in there, this is a reverse thread, okay? To open this up, it's not lefty-loosey, it's righty-loosey. So you have to turn it, when it's brand new, you have to turn this thing to the right to loosen it up, to open this up. There's a little ball in there, you just fill it up with dye. Speaking of dye, first let me show you how I get it in there. It's a lot easier if you use, especially when these bottles are brand new, just to take like a little syringe, soak it up, and then drop it in there. It doesn't take much. I've had that same dye in there for a long time. So speaking of oil, dye, use Fiebings Pro Dye. Now you could get away with just using dark brown. I'll show you what that looks like. This is the dark brown dye on the edges here. You could get away with doing that on everything. I know Don Gonzalez just only uses dark brown. The reason is because the black is notorious for bleeding and it takes longer to dry. But I have a dark brown for all of my British brown color and for my Havana, like you just saw. And the black I actually use for the black. Anything that I do black, I actually use the black. So we're gonna start with the application. I'm gonna put this away. Now what you want to do is on your strap goods, you want to, we're going to go ahead and do this piece. But what you want to do is go ahead and bevel, burnish, and you want to not bevel, you want to bevel and you want to burnish lightly, okay? So all I'm going to do here is burnish lightly, okay? And all I'm going to use is just water. This is just a jar of water right here, all right? And you're just going to apply a little bit of water. You can most certainly do this with, hold on, let me burn some of these little snaggly pieces. I call them snaggly pieces. That's a leather term, snaggly pieces. And what you want to do, by the way, when you burnish, if you notice, I have clean. This is a clean canvas and a clean burnishing tool, okay? I have dirty ones. This is dirty. This has wax, dye on it already, This is dirty. I also have a dirty burnishing tool. Okay, so have a clean version and a dirty version. So when I burnish, something that I'm gonna dye, I always have a clean version. These two items has never seen wax or dye or any kind of finish. This is just legit water and maybe the glycerin saddle soap. You could use the glycerin saddle soap and the dye will penetrate that. If you want to just burnish real quick, you could use that, but I found that just a little bit of water, because we just want to knock down those fibers a little bit so that the dye applies a little easier, okay? So all I did with this, I cut this strap out, I beveled, and that's all I've done so far. I'm just going to apply a little bit of water, and I'm going to just lightly burnish this, all right, with a clean burnisher or maybe even the clean canvas, okay? So I'm literally just trying to knock down some of these fibers. That's all I am doing. And I'll show you the difference here. All right, maybe a little bit of this. It's just a quick burnish. Now I want you to see the difference. All right, so there's that versus that. And that's all I'm doing, just knocking it down, making it a little smooth. It's not a finished burnish, but just a little bit smooth so that that dye gets on there relatively easy. I mean, I'm talking just a quick, that's it. All right, just knocking down those fibers a little bit. Let me hit these corners, a little touch here. I might just go ahead and use this right here. This is not the finished burnish. This is just allowing the dye on the applicator to follow that line a little easier. All right, let's change camera angles and then we're gonna move on to the actual dyeing process. So I have some scrap here. I'm gonna open this up carefully. When you open this up, sometimes there's a tendency for a little bit to splatter, so I'm gonna just do it off the table, away from any leather. And that's it. I'm gonna give it a couple of pumps, like that. Wipe off any excess. Now there is a line where I the line where I beveled, the middle, and then the bottom. So I'm gonna work across the top first. All right. And it's kind of hard to see, and it's kind of hard doing it in this angle. But you just kind of want to tilt this a little bit to get that bevel line. Don't worry about it being inconsistent because you're going to follow it up. Let me show you. So actually, because I beveled that, and I burnished it a little bit, it actually covered everything, the top, bottom, and the middle. So now I'm just gonna run across the middle. So what I did was I tilted it and I favored that top bevel line. Now what I wanna do is actually come back and go across the middle. And I wanna do that. You can do this as many times as you like. I'm gonna do it again to get a nice coat. And you know what, maybe another one, who cares? We're all here together as friends. All right, so I put maybe 3 or 4. I'm gonna let that sit and we'll get back to finishing this edge right here. Been like 10 minutes. I went ahead and did the other guy, okay? Now, you wanna get rid of your clean stuff, right? I always put this in a clean area. So my clean stuff is done. And now we're left with this, which was a little bit burnished before we started. And I painted the edges. So let's take a close look at that. And now we're just gonna burnish it, okay? Now, this is why it's important to not use any wax or any of those products I told you before you dye, because you would have a hard time. The dye would not saturate the leather. Now, moving forward, what you could do is, if you don't like the unevenness, you can go ahead and sand it with some sandpaper. You know, your 800 grit, your 300 grit, your 800 grit. I said that multiple times. You can go ahead and sand this, right? And you're gonna lose some dye, but you can go ahead and repeat this process however you see fit before you do the wax and everything else. So you can get it as smooth as you want. You can also sand before you start the dyeing process. For me, these are glove straps, and I'm okay with the finish. It's not super perfect, but You know, this is a $30, $40 product. I'm not gonna spend 3 hours making a complete glass finish, but most certainly before you put your products on the edges, you can sand it and reapply, sand and reapply to your liking. So to me, this suffices. You'll see why. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and get my dirty canvas, my water, and my glycerin, okay? Now I'm gonna treat this like every other edge. A little water, a little glycerin, and we're going to canvas away. And I am gonna get rub off. There's no way around it, all right? But the beauty of this is the finish coat that I put on top. I put an acrylic Resolene. That's the same product that I told you about. I put that on the edges. And that's gonna prevent a little bit of rub off. But don't forget, this is going on fire gear, and guys don't care about that too often. I probably let this dye dry a lot better if this is on a belt, you know what I mean? But I kind of wanted to show you just a little water, a little glycerin saddle soap. Let me show you that. I don't know if you guys seen that before, but comes in a bar. It comes in a bar, glycerin saddle soap, Fiebings. I cut them in little pieces like that, put them in my pocket, and that beats gum track all day long. It's way cheaper and lasts forever, and the dye can penetrate that. The gum track, you can't. It's pretty slick. That married with water and a canvas thing, I've tried the gum track. I'm telling you, Don Gonzalez saved my day, saved the day on this one. And I could feel the friction already. And this is coming out super nice for a glove strap. You know what I mean? This is not a dressy belt. I never used to dye the edges. I go back and forth on if I'm gonna dye or not, blah, blah, blah. But I like this look. Don't take much time. Another 20 minutes to have a really nice product to set yourself apart from other guys. I mean, I've spent, what, 2 minutes on that? And wait till you see me put the edge coat on there, which is basically acrylic Resolene. You can most certainly put a little beeswax there now. I'm gonna put a little beeswax to help and do another buff. That little mixture there, this little thing is mixture of beeswax and paraffin wax. And you can really, like I said, at this point, once you're happy with the dye, then you can go to town and treat this like any other edge finish. But I'm doing this kind of in real time a little bit. I would go ahead and call that done, but since this is a video, I want it to look like I spend hours on this, even though I don't. Right here is where I would call it. I'd call it good right here. All right, so what I'm gonna do is do the rest, and then I'll put a little bit, I'll show you the process of me putting on my edge finish, and then I'll show you what that looks like. All righty. So in this jar right here is that acrylic Resolene. These jars, that's what the acrylic, it doesn't take much. There's acrylic Resolene in here, okay? And then this is a piece of magic eraser that I cut up in pieces. I get from Amazon, the cheap version. Oh My Clean, whatever, cheap magic eraser. And I cut them up. It's really absorbent. I like it. You can use what you want. This is what I use. And what I'm gonna do is simply put it on the edge like that. Now, truth be told is that all this was really under 20 minutes. All right. I don't know if you can see that. Hold on. Let me get the other one, then I'll show you close up. Hold on, bro, chachos. Let me show you close up. Hold on. That is with the acrylic Resolene. That is with the acrylic Resolene. All right, guys, so that's how I do my edges. I hope this video you found useful. In the description below and in the pin first comments, there's gonna be a playlist of leather crafting tips. Like I said, this is the way I do it, so I'm sure there's a lot of different ways to do it. Let me know in the comments below how you do it, and that's all I got for you. God bless you, have a good day.